The life of Ugandan President Idi Amin was marked by both moments of great power and peril. His brutal regime, which lasted from 1971 until 1979, is remembered for its brutality, human rights violations, and a tumultuous period of political unrest. Amidst this backdrop, one of the most significant and chilling attempts on his life occurred on June 10, 1976, when a grenade was thrown at his military jeep at Nsambya Police Barracks in Kampala. This attempted assassination is part of the complex and often mysterious series of events during Amin's rule, highlighting the deep resistance and unrest his leadership inspired in various factions of Ugandan society. The political landscape under Idi Amin. When Idi Amin seized power in Uganda in January 1971 following a military coup against then-President Milton Obote, the country's initial response was mixed. Amin's coup was greeted by celebrations, particularly in the military, where he had garnered significant support. Many Ugandans believed that his rule would bring stability and prosperity, especially after the years of political chaos under Obote's government. However, this optimism was short-lived, as Amin's regime soon became infamous for its authoritarianism, human rights abuses, and the expulsion of thousands of Ugandan Asians, many of whom had contributed significantly to Uganda's economy. By 1972, it became clear that Amin had no intention of stepping down. His increasingly erratic and tyrannical behavior, including his infamous expulsion of Indians from Uganda, exacerbated tensions. Although some Ugandans, particularly those who were supportive of his military background, accepted his leadership, others grew deeply disillusioned. This discontent became a breeding ground for political opposition, and numerous attempts on Amin's life were made during his years in power. The June 10, 1976, attempted assassination. The attempt on Idi Amin's life on June 10, 1976 is one of the most notable in the history of his regime. On that evening, Amin attended a function at the Nsambya Police Barracks in Kampala, which was held to mark the passing out of new officer cadets. The event was attended by a number of high-ranking officials, including Vice President General Mustafa Adrisi, cabinet ministers, and other senior government figures. Amin, as was customary, did not have a large military escort accompanying him. He arrived at the barracks in his military jeep, driven by Staff Sergeant Moses Abbas. Following the official ceremony, Amin bade farewell to the guests and, as was often his habit, took the wheel of his vehicle himself with his driver, Staff Sergeant Abbas, sitting beside him. Amin's decision to drive himself, despite the possible security risks, was a characteristic feature of his leadership style, a symbol of his military prowess, and perhaps his belief in his own invincibility. As Amin and Abbas drove off from the event, the crowd that had gathered to see the president off lined the entrance. It was here, at the gates of the barracks, that the attack occurred. Someone from the crowd, hiding among the well-wishers, hurled a hand grenade directly at Amin's jeep. The grenade landed in the co-driver's seat, striking Staff Sergeant Abbas. The impact was immediate and devastating, as the blast fatally wounded Abbas. Amin's narrow escape. The grenade attack shook Amin, but according to reports, he remained composed. Despite being rattled by the explosion and the injury to his driver, Amin managed to maintain control of the vehicle. Holding Abbas with one arm, Amin reportedly accelerated the jeep and drove straight to Mulago Hospital, located about 7 kilometers from the scene. This swift response likely saved his life, and his actions demonstrated a certain level of resilience amidst the chaos. However, the attack triggered chaos at the barracks and in the surrounding area. Gunfire erupted as security personnel and soldiers responded to the attack, and in the ensuing panic, at least 8 people were reportedly shot dead, while around 20 others sustained serious injuries. The explosion and subsequent gunfire left a sense of terror and confusion in the air, and many feared for the president's life. Meanwhile, other government officials and ministers who had attended the event, including Henry Kiemba, Uganda's Minister of Health at the time, reacted quickly to the explosion. Kiemba recalled the tense moments following the grenade attack, stating that government ministers were in the process of leaving the main hall when the explosion occurred. Panic spread through the crowd as rumors circulated that Amin had been killed. Kiemba, along with other officials, followed Amin to Mulago Hospital, where they found him standing by the bedside of his gravely injured driver. Staff Sergeant Abbas, despite the best efforts of doctors, succumbed to his injuries on June 14, 1976. His death marked the end of a dedicated military career, and he was buried with full military honors at the Kololo Military Cemetery. The aftermath and political implications. Following the attack, Amin's government faced a wave of speculation and conspiracy theories. While Amin was known for having a strong intelligence network, no arrests were made in connection with the assassination attempt. The lack of suspects being paraded before the public was unusual, especially given Amin's regime's tendency to publicly display those accused of conspiring against him. This secrecy raised questions about the true nature of the attack and who might have been behind it. One theory that has persisted over the years is that the Save Uganda movement, a political group based in Nairobi, Kenya, was behind the assassination attempt. The Save Uganda movement, composed of Ugandan exiles, sought to overthrow Amin's regime. The group's alleged involvement, however, remains speculative, and no conclusive evidence has ever been presented to confirm their role in the attack. The absence of a public investigation and the lack of an official response created a sense of unease among many Ugandans. The grenade attack further demonstrated the widespread dissatisfaction with Amin's leadership, as well as the ongoing threat to his rule. While Amin would continue to hold on to power for another 3 years, the attempt on his life served as a stark reminder of the mounting opposition he faced, both within Uganda and from exile groups abroad. Amin's end and legacy. Despite surviving the assassination attempt, Idi Amin's grip on power would gradually weaken in the following years. In 1978, Uganda found itself embroiled in a conflict with Tanzania, which ultimately led to Amin's downfall. The Tanzanian army, in alliance with Ugandan exiles, launched an invasion of Uganda, and in April 1979, Amin fled the country to exile in Saudi Arabia, where he lived for the remainder of his life. Amin's legacy is a deeply controversial one. While some still view him as a patriotic leader who stood up to Western imperialism, his reign is largely remembered for its brutality and the widespread suffering of the Ugandan people. The attempted assassination at Nsambya Police Barracks is just one of many violent episodes during his rule, illustrating the deep divisions and the extreme resistance that his government inspired. In the years following Amin's fall from power, Uganda slowly began to recover from the scars of his dictatorship. The attempt on his life at Nsambya Police Barracks remains a pivotal moment in the history of his regime, reflecting the political unrest and the enduring hatred many Ugandans felt towards his oppressive rule. Conclusion. The grenade attack on Idi Amin at Nsambya Police Barracks in 1976 serves as a symbol of the deep opposition he faced during his rule. Despite his narrow escape, the incident underscores the volatile political climate of Uganda under his leadership. The attack is a reminder of the tensions, conspiracies, and resistance that characterized Amin's reign, and it remains a key moment in the history of Uganda's struggle for political freedom and justice.